Hi, today we discuss about demand forecasting. So demand forecasting is a combination of two words. The first one is demand and another word is forecasting. So demand means outside requirement of a product or services in general, and forecasting means making an estimation in the present for a future occurring events. So here we are going to discuss demand forecasting and its usefulness. So the first of all we discuss about the meaning and determinations of demand. So demand forecasting, it is a technique for estimation of probable demand for a product or service in the future. So it is based on the analysis of past demand for that product or service in the present make conditions. So demand forecasting should be done in a scientific basis, and facts and events related to forecasting should be considered. So therefore, in simple words, we can say that after gathering information about various aspects of a market and demand based on the past, an attempt may be estimate future demand. So this concept is called forecasting of demand. For example, suppose we sold 200, 250, 300 units of products X in the month of January, February and March respectively. Now we can say that there will be a demand for 250 units approximately in organizations of product X in the month of April. So if the market conditions remain the same, usefulness of demand forecasting. So demand plays a vital role in the decision makings of a business. In competitive market conditions, there is a need to make correct decisions and make planning for future events related to business like a sales, production, etc. The effectiveness of a decision taken by business managers depends upon the accuracy of the decision taken by them. Demand is the most important aspect for business for achieving its objectives. Many decisions of business depends on demand like production, sales, requirement, etc. Forecasting is the necessity of business at an international level as well as domestic level also. So demand forecasting reduces risk related to business activities and help it to make efficient decisions in organizations. For firms having production at the mass level, the importance of forecasting had increased more. A good forecasting helps a firm in better planning related to business goals. There is a huge role of forecasting in financial areas of accounting. So good forecast helps in appropriate production planning, process selections, capacity planning, facility layout planning and inventory management, etc. So demand forecasting provides reasonable data for the organization's capital investment and expansion decisions. So it also provides a way for the formulation of suitable pricing and the advertisement strategies also. So now we discuss about the significance of demand forecasting in organizations. First of all, fulfilling objectives of the business. Number 2, preparing the budget. Number 3, taking management decisions. Number 4, evaluating performance, etc. So moreover, forecasting is not completely full of a proof of correct, and it thus helps in evaluating various factors which affects demand and enables management staff to know about various forces relevant to the study of demand behavior. So the scope of demand forecasting. The scope of demand forecasting depends upon the oriented area of the firm or operated area of the firm, the present as well as what is proposed in the future. Forecasting can be at an international level if the area of operations is international. If the firm supplies its product and services in the local market, then forecasting will be at local level. The scope should be decided considering the time and cost involved in relations to the benefit of the informations required through the study of demand. So the cost of forecasting and benefit flows from such forecasting should be in a balanced manner in organizations. Type of forecasting. There are two types of forecasting: based on economy, based on the time period. Based on economy. There are three types of forecasting based on economy. Number one, micro level forecasting. It deals with the general economic environment related to the economy as measured by the index of industrial production, national income, and general level of employment, etc. Industry level forecasting. Industry level forecasting deals with a demand for a industry's product as a whole. For example, demand for cement in India, demand for cloth in India, etc. Farm level forecasting. It means forecasting the demand for a particular time's farm's product. For example, demand of Birla cement, demand for Raymond cloths, etc. Based on the time period, forecasting based on a time may be short-term forecasting and long-term forecasting. So short-term forecasting, it covers a short period of time depending upon the nature of the industry. It is done generally for 6 months or less than 1 year. Short-term forecasting is generally useful in tactical decisions. Now, number two, long-term forecasting. Long-term forecasts are for a longer period of time, say 2 to 5 years or more. It gives information for major strategic decisions of the firm. For example, expansion of plant capacity, opening new units of business, etc. Now, solved examples on demand forecasting. So, which of the following is now I am discussing about this is correct demand forecasting. So, predicts further demands for a product or service based on the past demand for the product and service. It is not based on scientific methods, and D helps in the managerial decision making. So the correct option is C. That means it is not based on scientific method. Demand forecasting is based on scientific methods and proper judgment in order to correctly predict the future demand for a product or service. It gathers information about various aspects of the market like further or future changes in the selling price, product designs, changes in competitions, advertisement, campaigns, the purchasing power of the consumers, employment opportunities, population, etc. So all the information gathered is scientifically analyzed so as to forecast the future demand for a product. Now I am discussing about the 6 types of demand forecasting and projection benefits. So is it possible to predict the future? That's certain. So what most economists, stock traders, meteorologists, and of course fortune tellers do for a living. Of course, savvy e-commerce said that. So we discuss about what is demand forecasting. So demand forecasting is the process of understanding and predicting customer demand in order to make smart decisions about supply chain operation, profit margin, cash flow, and capital expenditure, capacity, planning, and more. Demand forecasting helps business estimate for the total sales and revenue for a future period of time, often but not always. By looking at a historical data, the demand forecasting methodology is important for almost all business to avoid overproduction and underproductions. To conduct a systematic and scientific demand forecast analysis need to determine what they are measuring and time perspectives, select a type of demand forecasting and then collect, analyze and interpret results. So factor influencing demand forecasting. So there are a number of factors that can significantly impact demand which needs to be taken into account. So prior to forecasting, there are the 5 most common influencer impacting forecasting and demand management. So seasonality. As seasons change, so can demand. A highly seasoned brand or a cyclical business may have a peak season when sales are booming, followed by off seasons. So when sales are steady or even very slow, some demand forecasting example based on seasonality include products uses during specific seasons. So boating gear during the summer, holidays, costumes and candy on Halloween, or events, wedding seasons, for example. Now, when competition enters or exits the scenes, demand can drop or skyrocket. For example, if a new player enters the market and start its share of the pie, established business may suffer. So, on the other hand, if an existing competitor fold for began losing ground because of bad product services or peer and other business will be in greater demand as a consumer make it to switch. Now geography. So where your customer resides and where you manufacture stores and fulfill order from can have a huge impact on inventory forecasting, not to mention shipping cost. So it pays to be strategic when choosing geographic locations of your supply chain. For example, if you sell swimwear, you will probably want to store the majority of your product in a state like Florida. So where they are offered most, that way you don't have to ship to faraway locations. Now economic. So economic conditions can have a big impact on forecasting product demand. For example, if an economy enters into depression or recessions and fewer people are working, the demand for high priced luxury products is likely to fall, while demand for low priced generic products is likely to increase. Types of goods. Different products and services have very different demand forecasting. For example, forecasting demand for perishable goods with a short shelf life must be very precise or a lot of inventory could be lost. On the other hand, demand can more or less be predicted for a subscription box services that shipped to the same customers at the same time each month, assuming customer retentions and attritions are relatively steady. Six types of demand forecasting. So, passive demand forecasting. Passive demand forecasting does not require statistical methods or analysis of economic trades. It simply involves using past sales data to predict future sales data. So while this makes passive data forecasting fairly easy, it's really only useful for businesses that have a lot of historical data to pull from. Because the passive model assumes the year's sales data will be similar to last year's sales data. It should be only used by companies that aims for steady sales rather than rapid sales growth. Now, active demand forecasting. Active demand forecasting is typically used to by start-up businesses and companies that are growing rapidly. The active approach takes into account aggressive growth plans such as marketing or product development and also the general competitive environment of the industry, including the economic outlook, market growth projections, and more. Short-term demand and forecasting. Short-term demand and forecasting looks at a small window of time in order to inform the day-to-day, that is make be used to look and inventory planning or a Black Friday promotions. It's also useful for managing in a just-in-time JIT supply chain or product lineup that changes frequently. However, most business will only use it in conjunctions with longer term projections. Now, long term demand forecasting. Long term demand forecasting is a conducted for a period greater than a year, which helps to identify a and plan for seasonally annual patterns and production capacity. A long-term projections is like a blueprint by forecasting further out into the future. So businesses can focus on shaping the growth trajectories of their brands, creating their fulfillment marketing planning capital investments and expansion strategies and more to prepare for future demands in organizations. Macro and micro demands forecasting. So demand forecasting at a macro level looks at external forces disrupting commerce, such as economic conditions, competitions and consumer trends. Understanding these forces helps business identify product or services expansion opportunities, predict upcoming financial challenges of raw material strategies or storage and more. Even if your company is more interested in stability than growth, a look at external market forces can still keep you in a loop when it comes to issue that could impact your supply chain in organizations. So demand at a micro level is a still external, however, it drills down to a particular of a specific industry or customer segment. For example, projections demand of a organic and peanut butter among etc. So internal demand forecasting. A limiting factor for business growth is internal capacity. Say you project that customer demand will triple in the next 3 years. Does your business have the capacity to meet that demand of customers with the internal forecasting? The needs of a operations that may impact future sales are identified. For example, in human resources, demand forecasting could help identify how many people will need to be hired within those next 3 years to keep things running smoothly and fill future customer demand. 8 demand forecasting methods. Statistical methods. Using statistical methods, this is reliable and often cost effective method of demand forecasting. A few ways to employ the statistical method include trend projections. So, which is probably the easiest method of demand forecasting. Simply put, you look at the past to predict the future. Of course, be sure to remove any anomalies. For example, if you had a brief sales spike the previous year because a story about your product went viral for a month, or your e-commerce site was hacked and sales temporarily dropped as a customer heard the news, both of these events are unlikely to repeat, so they should not be factored into the trend projections. Regression analysis, which enables companies to identify and analyze the relationship between different variables such as sales, conversations, and email signups, taking a holistic view of how each impacts the other can help a company allocate resources to the right area in order to boost sales. Market research. So market research is another of demand forecasting, with customer surveys being important demand forecasting tools. Today, online surveys make it easy to target your audience, and survey software makes analysis such less time consuming than in the past. So using surveys forecasting can gain a lot of valuable insights that simply can't be mined of a sales figure, and they can help paint a better picture of your computer and their needs and inform marketing efforts and identify the opportunities also. So simple surveys in which a select sample of potential buyers are interviewed to determine their buying habits. Complete enumeration surveys, end use surveys, sales for composite method. Now, we all knows that the collection opinions that Salesforce composite is a demand forecasting method, and in which sales agents forecast demand in their territories. This data is consolidated at the branch, region, or area level, and then the aggregate all the factors is considered to develop an overall company demand forecast. So this bottom of approach is valuable because salespeople are very close to the market and can often provide more accurate prediction based on their direct experience with customers. So they are directly related to the market, and I want to know told you that. So when using this method, number that factors like product price, marketing campaigns, customers affluence, and competitors can differ based on region. So it is important to take these decisions in account when forecasting. Some inventory management platforms have built-in features allowing sales executives to gather and send this data electronically, while others will use market research surveys to gather data. So that's for the video, my friends. If you like my blogs, please subscribe my channel and also share it. Thanks a lot for